I'm sitting here with my friend Don Teets, who we've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now, Don, and you've had some incredible results combining and learning how to eat better, the work ethic, things that's taken place in your life, and I'd be interested in just what has taken place.
Yeah, that's a difficult question to answer because it's been more than 4 or 5 years. We're talking 7 or 8 years, best I can ascertain. Okay. And to think back of what life for me was like 7 or 8 years ago is a little difficult. In that period of time, I entered into this with you with the Nefesh, weighing about 170 pounds. I weighed this morning the same as I weighed when I got out of basic training in the Army when I was 18 years old. I weighed 152 pounds this morning. And that didn't happen overnight, but it happened over a long period of time. It has a lot to do with the product itself, but the other part is the education that I've acquired and being careful about what you eat, being more constant in my physical exercise. And I had a driving need because I was diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic, and so I knew I had to do something different in my life, either that or let the diabetes control me. And my goal from day one has been to control the diabetes, and I give full and total credit to you and the product that you have, the education, the teaching that you've done, as to the reason why I have it under control today.
Well, that's an interesting thought because neither one of us are very stubborn. And, you know, as we work our way through life, now the importance is to figure out a way to convey our experience with what we used to be and convey that thought to somebody else who's saying, what's the road look like to you? You've got experience, you've got knowledge, you've got a huge background ranging from real estate to investments, owner of radio stations. I mean, it's what a life story you have. And yet here we are in, if you will, the fall of our lives, trying to convey to young people, younger than 70, 81, that we don't have to be this way. I mean, life could be a whole lot better.
I think there's one of the things in life, and you've talked about this, is one of the things that only 1 out of 1,000 people at age 60 are without some kind of drugs in their life. Mm-hmm. I was about 65 when I was diagnosed with diabetes, and so I sincerely believe that based upon diet and available food at the local supermarkets, information on television through commercials, news, etc., and other programming, that almost everybody in the United States of America is on track to have a date with some chronic disease, be it diabetes, be it cancer, be it cardiovascular, be it dementia or Alzheimer's disease, that if they don't change somewhere along the way, that date's going to be kept. Mm-hmm. And when that date is kept, it's not a wonderful thing when somebody tells you that you're going to live with that disease until you die, or it's going to kill you within a certain period of time. That takes all the fun out of life, at least for the moment. And I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, but I certainly believe that you can change that course before you're diagnosed, and even after you're diagnosed, you can make some alterations that's going to change your life to help you live, maybe not longer, but live until you die, if that makes any sense.
Well, I think that's what people want to know. And the change, has it been difficult for you? Would you have changed without a fundamental knowledge that you've picked up over the last few years?
Well, I'm going to go back to something that you've always talked about. People don't act when they see the light, but they certainly do act after they feel the heat. Mm-hmm. So in answer to your question, I probably would have just gone on merrily, living the life I lived until something really disastrous came along that would take my life prematurely.
Well, I know that you have a bunch of friends that are your age, and I know that they all are subjected to some pretty horrendous diseases. And what a way to live once you're sitting there, and I know that I've watched them look at you and they go, how come Don is healthy? He's our age. So in a real quick summation, could you just describe what you've done and why you did it in terms of eating, in terms of thought process, maybe? The attitude that might have changed in your life?
I'm not so sure the attitude has changed. The attitude has been...
I wish it would.
My attitude has been pretty much positive thinking throughout my life. In fact, some of my relatives have said, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, it's the greatest thing in the world. And I said, well, why would I do it if it wasn't? And so I sincerely believe that attitude is number one, ahead of physical, ahead of anything else. If you get the right attitude in place, then some really wonderful things can happen in your life. You know, I don't know what I've learned. I do know this, that nothing is permanent as long as you're breathing, as long as you're alive. And it's not easy to make a lot of changes. I think back to the fact that my son was 2 years old when I started a regular exercise program. Now, do I exercise real heavy? No, but I do it consistently, and I have since 1974, which, if my calendar is correct right now, that's 46 years ago. And there's been some interruptions where I haven't really exercised that much, but I think exercise is such an important part. A lot of people say, oh, I can't exercise because I can't walk very far. Well, you can walk as far as you can, and every day you can probably walk a little further because you can. It's a discipline to say, I want to exercise, I want to be feeling better. I got a compliment last week that I just loved. We were in a conversation with some friends, and one of the people said, you know, Teets, your biggest problem is you think you're still 30. Oh, what's wrong with that?
Well, you have done well, Don, and I'm really proud to be a friend of yours because you've stuck with and you've really changed your life a lot. And it's part of mine is getting people to see that there's a difference that's achievable, that's not difficult.
It isn't. You know, if you look at it like eating an elephant, one bite at a time, you know, you just can't go to the gym one day and say, okay, I'm going to get on this treadmill and I'm going to go for 30 minutes at 3.5 or 4 miles an hour at an elevation of 5 degrees or whatever it is. Well, you take 15 steps and you're exhausted because you're so physically unfit. It'd be better to get on that treadmill and say, I'm going to walk at a mile an hour and get my feet under me, feel like I've accomplished something, and take it one step at a time. Same way with diet, same way with attitude, same way with taking a step nutritionally to put yourself in a position where you look better, feel better, and be better.
What a story, Don, and I so appreciate you taking the time to do this, and we're going to charge on and see if we can't change the world.
We'd like to have everybody in the world join with us.
Okay. Thank you again, Don.
My pleasure, Steve. Thank you.